Hi, Faith Squared music fans. This is Allison. Hey, how are you? I am very excited to introduce our first video testimonial from one of my wonderful clients. Michele has recently been demonstrating remarkable progress to the point that I invited her to share some thoughts about it at one of our group support Zoom meetings. It was really well received by everyone in the group, and thankfully we recorded it. So, Michele gave me permission to share it online in hopes that it will provide some hope and support to others who are on their own recovery journeys. Enjoy, and please share your support and encouragement in the comments below. Thanks.
So first of all, I'm going to read this. I didn't have time to have it memorized or do like a more public speaking kind of thing. So hopefully you guys will give me some grace with that. And so I call this my journey from survival to flourishing, and I consider it a story of healing and transformation. And I'll share a summary, a before, a turning point, and what it looked like for me as my after, if you will, and then what it looks like, beyond that. So for a long time, my life became organized around trying to feel safe. I didn't fully understand what was happening at the time. I knew I was struggling, but I didn't understand that my nervous system had become stuck in a pattern of protection. My symptoms showed up in many different ways. My biggest ones were anxiety, chronic fatigue, and digestive issues. But there were many others along the way: adrenaline surges, pain, uncomfortable body sensations, and periods where my body seemed to be constantly sending signals that something was wrong. These symptoms were real and the sensations were real, but I didn't yet understand the role my nervous system was playing in creating and maintaining those patterns. Looking back, I can see that my nervous system was responding exactly as it had learned to respond. And I won't go into the gory details, but growing up with unpredictability and emotional instability, my brain learned that vigilance was protective. My limbic system became very good at scanning for danger, anticipating problems, and trying to prevent pain before it happened. Those patterns were not failures. I know that now. And they were basically survival strategies. But eventually those same protective patterns began limiting my life. So living in protective mode looked like these patterns that were reinforced, the very patterns I wanted to escape. My world became smaller because so much of my energy went toward managing symptoms and trying to create certainty. I was looking for answers, monitoring my body, analyzing sensations, and trying to figure out what I needed to do to finally feel okay. My focus often was on questions like, why is this happening? What does this sensation mean? Is something wrong? How do I make this stop? My attention was repeatedly pulled towards fear instead of toward life. I also carried deep patterns of perfectionism, over responsibility, and efforting. I believed I needed to work harder, figure things out faster, and somehow become better before I could fully live. At the core, I was trying to find safety through control. But true safety was not found through controlling my circumstances. It was found through learning to trust. The turning point was understanding neuroplasticity. One of the most powerful shifts for me was understanding that my brain was not permanently stuck. My nervous system had learned patterns, but it could learn new ones. That gave me hope because it meant that every moment of responding differently was an opportunity to create a new pathway. My healing has not been about fighting my symptoms harder. It has been about changing my relationship with them. Instead of seeing sensations as danger, I learned to meet them with curiosity. Instead of immediately asking, how do I get rid of this? I learned to ask, can I allow this moment and continue living? Instead of making symptoms the center of my attention, I began gently redirecting my focus back toward the things that truly mattered: God, relationships, creativity, beauty, movement, joy, purpose. I'm learning to practice safety rather than constantly searching for proof of safety. Moving into flourishing. So this is my after or my now. Today, I'm experiencing a level of freedom and flourishing I once couldn't imagine. Not because I never experienced difficult sensations, emotions, or moments of uncertainty, but because my life is no longer organized around them. The greatest change has been identity. I no longer see myself primarily as someone trying to recover. I see myself as someone continuing to heal and learning to flourish. My foundation is everything flows from God through me into life. My goal is no longer to create a perfectly controlled life. My goal is to be present for the life God has given me. I have learned that joy is not something that comes after healing. Joy is part of healing. Beauty is part of healing. Connection is part of healing. Playfulness is part of healing. Healthy emotional processing is part of healing. My nervous system has needed repeated experiences of safety, but it also needed repeated experiences of living. I am continuing to show my brain I can feel something uncomfortable and still be okay. I can experience uncertainty and still move forward. I can have emotions and allow them to pass through. I can trust God even when I cannot control the outcome. What has helped me to move forward? My healing has not come from one magic technique, which I have to admit, I was looking for that magic bullet initially. It has come from consistently giving my brain and nervous system new experiences to learn from. 4 practices have been foundational in my healing journey. The first is building self-awareness and changing my brain talk. One of the biggest turning points was learning to recognize when my nervous system was becoming dysregulated. Instead of automatically believing every fear-filled thought or every physical sensation, I learned to notice what was happening with curiosity instead of alarm. I began understanding that my brain was trying to protect me, but that protection did not always mean there was danger. Then I learned to change the conversation. Rather than saying something's wrong, I began telling my brain, "Thank you for trying to protect me, but I am safe. This is a learned pattern, not a dangerous one. I don't need to solve this right now." Over time, compassionate and truth-filled self-talk has become one of the most powerful ways I'm continuing to retrain my brain. Number 2, learning emotional safety. I also had to stop fearing my emotions. Instead of suppressing them, fixing them, or trying to make them go away, I learned to experience them with compassion and allow them to move through me. My nervous system is slowly learning that emotions are not emergencies. They're part of being human. That came up earlier. 3, rebuilding trust. I realized that I'd spent much of my life trying to create safety through control. Healing has invited me into something deeper, trust. Trust in my body, trust in the healing process, trust that I can handle uncertainty, and above all, trust in God. That shift continues to change everything. And number 4, choosing joy, gratitude, and life. Perhaps the most surprising part of my healing journey has been discovering that healing is not only about reducing fear, it is about increasing joy. I intentionally look for beauty. I practice gratitude every day, and I share that gratitude with others. I make room for creativity, relationships, movement, laughter, worship, and experiences that bring me alive. Those haven't been distractions from healing. They have been part of my healing. The more my life becomes filled with purpose, connection, and gratitude, the less space fear occupies. Today, I don't think of myself as someone chasing recovery anymore. I think of myself as someone learning to flourish. Healing to me does not mean perfection. It means freedom. Freedom to experience life without constantly monitoring myself. Freedom to trust instead of control. Freedom to feel emotions without being overwhelmed by them. freedom to follow God's invitation into love, beauty, and purpose. The protective patterns that once helped me to survive are becoming strengths. My sensitivity is becoming compassion. My awareness is becoming wisdom. My depth is becoming connection. My perseverance is becoming faithfulness. The same nervous system that once lived in survival mode is learning to live in flourishing. My purpose, which Alison helped me to create, is to flourish with God and to help others flourish through love, wisdom, beauty, and encouragement. I'm learning that my nervous system doesn't need me to become fearless. It needs me to become safe. And as I continue learning to live from that place of safety with God at the center, I'm discovering something even greater than symptom reduction. I'm discovering a life of flourishing.